In the next 6 years, beginning now, what should we do right?
Well, first of all, let me just say this to you. I'm 75 now. In September, I'll be 76.
Congratulations. And you look young. You look young.
And I'll tell you this.
You should share the water you drink.
Let me tell you this. This morning, I met a colleague at one of the shopping malls. He was trying to catch up with me. I jumped in the car and drove, and he called me. It was my old number. And he says, you're running away from me. So I said, who is this now? I turned back. He says, come back. And then I turned back. I went back to park. Who comes? Somebody that I know. We have worked together. I started. He says, well, you're still looking strong. You're from the sheikh and so on. I said, no. It's because a poor man always learns how to survive. Okay. So, to cut a long story short, he says, you couldn't even see when I was trying to stop you. I said, I was reflecting on my grandson, my grandsons, and my grandchildren. What will become of them? Because very soon I must leave. I must go back. What will happen to them? And I want to say this to you, Ambassador Mwamba. I will probably live this life a very sad person. And to some extent, even to myself. Maybe I have not spoken as much as I should have done. Maybe I have not raised the flag as much as I should have done to warn us. I've tried to do that. It's very painful when you know. If you don't know, it's different. Probably you don't, it doesn't matter. Okay, because you know no otherwise. I am very, very sad that at 60, I can understand President Kaunda, and even partly even his departure, about the amount of money that he had to spend on the wars, schools, hospitals during his time. But now, there are many of us who are educated. There are many of us who have been trained. Many of us can do a lot of other things. The economy has to change. We're a rich country with very poor people because we have not made the right decisions. I'm talking about collectively, including the current government. In fact, they're just deepening the wounds that we already have. We have made mistakes along the way. We have not protected Zambia. We have tended to protect our pockets and individuals. Talking as somebody who chaired the public accounts, most of Chalala is made out of money stolen from government. You know it, I know it. Most of the structures that are owned by our friends that were in PF, they were stolen money. Even some of the MMD, same. The same is happening right now. We are looking at what will I get out of this. I suppose for Bob Singer, because he can only squat in a little insaka and it doesn't matter. I don't have a house. I don't have a big house to talk about. I'm in an insaka. I sleep in an insaka. That's all I could afford. I don't know how they would make that money. And I'm an accountant, by the way. So I don't know how they make that money. I will go away a very, very sad man that a rich country of this kind of magnitude, what do you have? One of the biggest reserves, why this Lobito route is being done, is because the West wants the copper between Congo and Zambia. We have got the biggest deposit in Konkola Deep. The major challenge there is water. You have to dewater it constantly. So that's what they want. You think they're here to develop Zambia? No. They're here to get what they can get their hands on. My argument is that I want the same things they want for their children. I want it for my grandchildren too. Who is going to help me to do that? And that's why I even went into government, thinking that maybe we can correct some of these mistakes. We can be able to do something. I tried my best as Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and also as Agriculture. I was only with the President less than 5 years. I wish I had a bit more time to do that, to try and implement some of the programs. So that's one. Number two, what don't you have? You have copper in abundance. We are a poor second to Congo on cobalt. One of the first jobs I did when I joined RCM was a cobalt plant at Chambeshi. That was my job. I did that job. It was a plant that was to produce initially 1,200 metric tons of cobalt and then 2,400 metric tons of cobalt. That was my first job. We spent $6 million on it. It paid back in 3 months.
Wow.
Okay? Before I went to Mufulira mine.
And at the time, cobalt was far less. It was selling poorly, yeah.
Now
it's
not
not like
such a price. Okay? I know each one of those mines. I can tell you stories about each one of them. We established big farms in Mukumpu, in Mpongwe. Those were done by Nchanga farms. Why are we starving now? And yet there was enough rain in Mpongwe. Why? Wrong decisions. We've got manganese. You remember Masa batteries. You remember Yuka batteries. In Mansa. How about Sajolite? How about the copper in Mukushi? How about nickel? How about lithium?
And the gold that's just
How about
breaking
the gold
out
that we
everywhere?
talked about in Northwestern? But what is remaining for the people there? How are we using that resource? We're giving it away to our friends because maybe we benefit from it in one form or the other, which is a conversation for another day. But how about our own people? How about our people in Western Province, in Northwestern Province where the gold is being dug and all the other products are being taken? How about the people in Wapula? How about the manganese and Sajolite? How about the other semi-precious stones in Lundazi? How about in Mapatisia, in Southern Province? What about them? Don't they matter? How are you going to supply the hospitals with medicines? How are you going to train the next set of doctors, neurosurgeons, and so on and so forth? How are we going to do that? How are we going to make sure that the mega project that I wanted to do for the water to Southern Province is done without money? We can't remain beggars. I went with President Sata to South Korea. South Korea. You know how much money Samsung brings into Korea. In 2014 when we went, 2013 when we went, they were bringing in more than $3 trillion in South Korea. Wow. 3 trillion, Samsung only. And you talk about Japan. I've been in Japan. You can see how they make nothing from, they have no resource to talk about. But look at Sony. Look at their companies, Tashi, and so on and so forth. Look at them. How about us? We go begging with cup in hand. This is so sad. It's extremely sad. I mean, it saddened me very, very much. And I'm saying, what is my education worth? How about my experience on the mines? Why did I break 10 years of my... I was 36 when I was 28 when I went to Mufulira mine. 28. I've done the best of the years in there. And here is a rich country. Japan doesn't even have a percentage of what we have here. Same with South Korea. South Korea was offering us 57 locomotives. They say, we'll rehabilitate them for you, we'll change the gauge for you so that you can take them. Just pay for the transportation. And I have not seen them here. Yes, you talked about other countries. You go now and look at the other countries that, like in Southeast Asia. All right? How much have they progressed? They have diversified. They are now producing things on their own. They've gone exactly what we've said, value addition. What about us? Now we've got more people educated. Why is it that it's going to be more difficult now than it was in 1986 when I was in ZCCM? Tell me that. How is it possible that Norman Bazima can be Anglo-American chairman, but not here? Tell me. You just tell me. And Norman Bazima was my junior in ZCCM. How about Chileshe Kapwepwe? How about Mwilarumbwe? Even Dan Pule? How is it not possible? Tell me. There must be something wrong with our minds. Because God has given us, that is the gift to us and our children, and we're giving it away to other people. It's very, very sad. So, you asked me the question? Well, I think each one of us takes some blame. Our leaders, our members of parliament, we need to transform our country into a different situation. I wish that God would give me a few more years. Maybe I could still contribute something. But now I have to think in terms of where do I go from here? Okay? One hopes that the new leadership that will come into our country from next 60 years, we talked about 60 years, I don't know about the 60 years, but let's assume that they are here, that we will have another 60 years here. I am looking forward to a time when we can have selfless individuals. Countries are not built by others. Nobody is going to come from Australia to come and build the Zambia for us. No. Not
People
from
believe foreign investment to build this country.
It will not do that. China has proven to us there's alternatives.
Good evening. Thank you very much, and thank you for those thoughts by Honorable Bob Chinga from my conversation podcast I held with him last year. He really we're reflecting Zambia at 60 and what we could do as a country. Today, on the 2nd May of 2025, we are reflecting on Project 2026 and beyond, a plan not for the elections, but for a generation. And we are looking at unemployment. How can this crisis be resolved? How can you have an entire population, literally an entire population, in unemployment? How can you have graduates that graduate every year straight into unemployment? How can you only have such a few number of people employed? What are the mechanics and opportunities that can be engaged in between in the short term now, in the short term and in the long term? How can we move our country to full employment? So Project 2026, there's some active thoughts of what we need to do as a country. They say weak people focus on weaknesses. Strong people, on the other hand, focus on their strength. Weak people notice other people's mistakes and laugh. Strong people notice other people's mistakes and learn. Weak people talk about other people's problems to feel better, to feel that they are not the only ones in that crisis. But strong people talk about other people's problems and other people to become better. Weak people envy other people that are ahead of them. Strong people want to study them and learn, how did he become successful? What did he do? What mistakes did he make that I can avoid? What attributes made him succeed? We point out the mistakes of President Hakainde Hichilema, not because we want to laugh about it. You cannot laugh about the mistakes of a president because they have direct consequences to the people's lives. Our people may die, our people may starve, our people may not have jobs because of mistakes of a president and his policies. So we highlight these mistakes to propose credible solutions. We are standing in the gap that there are alternatives, that there is a better plan to run our country. Remember, the ambitions of Project 2026 and beyond is that this is not an election ploy. This is a plan for generations, that Zambia should become one of the top 5 economies. Currently, Zambia only has is between 27 to $30 billion. And the plans deployed so far cannot rescue us. Reliance on the IMF, believing that the IMF will resolve our crisis, the policies that rely on multinationals to emancipate your country can never work. You need solutions that are credible, that are country-eccentric, that are country-focused. You need solutions that focus on your people and on your economy, not on the attributes and vagaries of outsiders. President Hakainde Hichilema's economy relies on outsiders. So if you have things like drought, if you have things like floods, if you have anything that disturbs the local economy, the economy tanks, because he's relying on the IMF, he's relying on multinationals that live in Australia, in Canada, in Hong Kong, in Paris, to resolve the crisis of our people. He cannot see that the solution lie with our people, with raising domestic revenue. So the purpose of Project 2026 and beyond is to focus on our economy. What can we do better? What can we do in agriculture? that can spur such tremendous growth, where you are posting growth above 10% consistently? What can we do in mining? These are our natural resources. God gave them to us. I have seen that KCM, I've seen that Vedanta is bringing Konkola Deep and KCM to New York, and they want to do what they call an IPO so they can raise $1 billion. Why should KCM asset be brought to New York? Why should you yoke it to New York? That's my question. What could we have done? What can we do better? Why are you giving an asset to a bankrupt investor who, by the way, has a record of 20 years of failing? And again, you hand him such an asset. And the first thing he does is to rush to the markets to go and mortgage your assets, get this $1 billion. And then there is no guarantee that if Vedanta obtain this $1 billion, that it will come to KCM. Because you have no control. You are not sitting on the board. You don't own KCM. If they get $1 billion, they can get it to India. There is nothing you can do about it. Vedanta did same issue. He borrowed $700 million from Standard Chartered Bank of South Africa, and we don't know where he took that money. Similarly, even if he takes an IPO using the assets of KCM here in New York, there is no guarantee that that money will come to Zambia. He might give you token $100 million. He pacifies here and there and begins some production. Then the mine begins to pay for itself while he shifts the money elsewhere. We want to Akwalesa, open your eyes. This is your country. You cannot leave it to a few of us to fight for it. It is a fight for our resources. It's a fight for our country. Today's program is inspired by Honorable Charles Milupi, who's a minister of infrastructure and housing. I haven't seen any infrastructure and I haven't seen any housing. But he keeps on issuing inflammatory statements against his political opponents, against President Hakainde Hichilema's critics, and he doesn't come out like he's educated, doesn't come out like he's experienced. Yet, this is a very successful businessman, an engineer, an engineer, educated as an engineer, and he's a successful academic and businessman. He's tried his luck at politics the last 20 years, not successful. But so why does he utter such sentences? Today he has issued a statement that the only reason people are complaining about mealie-meal, that is at 400 kwacha, is because they don't have jobs. Only people without jobs are complaining, but others are happy. Are you happy that mealie-meal is at 400 kwacha? Milupi says you are happy that the mealie-meal is 400 kwacha. Milupi is very serious that the mealie-meal at 400 kwacha is okay. And I have difficulties, terrible difficulties, to believe what Charles Milupi is saying. Why do I say so? Because look at our population. Up to 7 million people are eligible for employment. How many people are in formal employment? Work for insurance, work for banks, work every day that they can go to work in formal employment. How many are they? 1.1 million. What about the 6 million? They lie that they're engaged in agriculture. Come on. This is just subsistence. It's not really a job. So you have up to 90% of your population unemployed, adult population unemployed. So if 90% of your population is unemployed, and you are very serious, you are saying only the unemployed are not happy about mealie-meal being at 400 kwacha. You are saying the majority of adults in Zambia are not happy about the price of mealie-meal. They all agree with you. So Charles Milupi, I'm glad that you inspired our thoughts that we are putting together on job creation, job retention, and job security in relation to today's program. What can we do? How can we crack this unemployment crisis? What can we do now in the immediate, in the short term, and in the long term? So we are discussing Project 2026 and beyond, and today we are tackling the issue of job creation, job retention, and job security.
China has proven beyond any shadow of doubt I can tell you this. No businessman coming here is doing it for Zambia's development. They are doing it for their own profitability. It is us, the citizens of this country, black, brown, whatever, it is us to make sure that we secure the future of our children. And what God has given to us is already here in our hands. It is for us to use it wisely and sensibly. Use the best methods we have. Use the best people that you have, not based on tribe. No, that we have to kill. And now we're fortunate as a country. We've intermarried so much. It would be very difficult for somebody to say we'll secede. Western province will secede. It won't secede, that I can tell you. Why? Because you have intermarried so much. How about the children? What do you do with them? And you members have also gone Southern Province. You love the beautiful girls of Southern Province. All right? So sometimes you've gone to Eastern Province and done whatever, married them from there. So what happens to the country? We are one unitary country. We need to develop what we have here. Right here, it is our duty, Mwamba. You're still young, so you have no gray hair like I have. So I hope that you guys will make amends to where we've gone wrong.
In the next 6 years, beginning now, what should we? Okay, thank you. Thank you for those thoughts, my dear brother Bob Schinga. Our program will be short today. It will just be for 1 hour. I think we just want to focus on the critical issues of job creation. What can be done? First of all, the 24-hour economy, our 1+3, we call it 1+3 plan. What it means, if there is one job, if you engage in a 24-hour economy, let's take, for example, national breweries or Zambia breweries that engages in the manufacture of alcohol. If they've employed one and you are running a 24-hour economy, that means they will have 3 shifts in 24 hours, 3 8-hour shifts. So you'll have, in a place of one job, you can employ 3. These are some of the immediate issues you can do. When you employ the 24-hour economy to our country, where people, like in the US, I can go to an eating place and buy food. It doesn't matter what time it is. Supermarkets close at midnight, some at 23 hours. Other industries go 24 hours, especially that are in the manufacturing and industrial sector. What impedes the 24-hour economy? Why can't it be done? It's very, very simple why it can't be done. Number one, you can't guarantee security in the night. People fear that they'll be burgled in, they'll be attacked. You have not guaranteed security lights in the cities and towns where these industries and companies are based. You have not assured security. For example, there are no proper patrols. You have more roadblocks by the traffic police than you have foot and motorized patrols that are aimed at stopping crime. Then the investment that we have to do, where our people come from, we have to upgrade Chiworia, we have to upgrade Mrs., we have to upgrade Garden Compound, we have to upgrade Chawama, we have to upgrade George Compound, and all these, whether Kukawama, Kukitwe, wherever it is, Kuchipulukusu, all these places have to be upgraded. You put proper electricity, street lights, you pave the roads, and if possible, you commission National Housing Authority to begin to replace those houses. Some landlords, you may need to buy them out. Some may cooperate, and then you encourage them to build with support, financial support, the design of your house. You lay infrastructure such as sewerage, water, and street lights. You modernize the city. You modernize our people. Our people cannot be living in the squalor they are living in. So one of the quick ways in which to spur immediate growth is to introduce a proper 24-hour economy where our minibuses can move 24 hours, where our factories can work 24 hours, where our supermarkets can operate 24 hours, where especially service industries can also. The only industries that open in the night are just nightclubs. We are not productive. And on Friday and Saturday, then churches open for overnight prayers. We are not serious. When do we produce the money to spend on those nightclubs? When do we do that? So that's number one failure, is that we are failing to engage in production. So we'll have a 1+3 strategy in relation to job creation. Second, we'll ensure that there's job retentions. People that have jobs need to be secured. There's a huge casualization program that was introduced. Can you imagine the mines don't have to employ anyone? Even if they're a $5 billion economy, $10 billion asset, they don't have to employ anyone. They just hire one contractor who then employs thousands, and they just deal with one contractor. And this contractor, if paid so much, it can be paid. For example, we put a minimum wage for every miner should be 6,000 kwacha. Every miner can be 6,000 kwacha, but this contractor can pay his workers 1,500 kwacha. And with the current job shortage, with the current job crisis, people will rather collect that 1,500 than not work at all. So one of the emergency things we will do is to ensure that we provide job security and job retention. We outlaw casualization. This 3 months casualization, you know, it helps. It only helps the employer. It's a lopsided process where an employer can get rid of you like you're not a human being, like you don't have a family, like you don't have plans. We want to bring job security. Casualization should be limited maybe to 3 years. You cannot have casualization of 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. People fall back on uncertainty. They can't borrow. They can't obtain a mortgage. They can't leverage their earnings and wages against their earnings that they earn, because they don't know where they'll be tomorrow. They don't know if that 1 month contract will be renewed. They don't know if that 6 month contract will be renewed. Another matter. For example, President Hakainde Hichilema has fired or put a group of civil servants at bay. They are currently parked at Public Service Management Service Division. Over 420, those will be reinstated. That's what we mean by job security and job retention. What we mean is you have to be secure when you have a job. You know, to fire a civil servant used to be very, very difficult. But now our civil servants are being fired like, like they're casual workers. No. My dear brother, Daffy Davis Loesha Kapijimpanga is a good contributor to my program. He's already sent me text and is asking me to read it. This is what he has written. He's answering to the text that I sent by Honorable Bob Schinga. He says, Uncle Bob, thank you for the contributions, but we seriously need a well-defined national mining policy. Once you have a well-defined national mining policy in place, the amazing growth of the sector is unbelievable. First, number one, revenue generation and economic growth. Number two, he has put a big job creation and human capital development and direct employment in the mining sector. And he has put up benefits, indirect employment, skills development, and the growth of an industry around mining. Industrial and energy development, raw materials as number four. Number five, social and environmental consideration. Someone says, Ambassador, Mambo request is Shile Komwa Ichowe. I don't know which young man is on live, but my program is scheduled. Sorry, you can watch it later. Choose between us. You can watch the other guy. The goodness with Facebook is you can come back. So I'll broadcast. If you feel that you need to go and watch whoever it is who's live, please, I encourage you to do so. That's also very good because we are all providing avenues. Our people can't speak because of the new cyber laws and the new, repressive laws and the weaponization of law enforcement agencies against our people. So that's also okay. I will encourage you to watch. You can watch mine and watch his later, or you can come to my program later. And the other one says, Ambassador, is leadership, leadership, and leadership. I agree with you. Leadership is no substitute. How will we create jobs? Remember what we said. For example, we took a mundane subsector like livestock, that we can produce a blue economy. What is a blue economy? A blue economy is an economy based on your fluvial assets. What are fluvial assets? Fluvial assets are anything related to your water. So since we have lakes, we have streams, rivers, and we have wetlands and associated dambos, and the biggest dams, some of the biggest dams in the world are in Zambia. What do you do with these fluvial assets? One of the key development we had stated is that we have counted that there are small SME farmers, our farmers in Luapula, our farmers in Mongu, these are fish farmers, our farmers around all lakes from Kariba to Lake Tanganyika. From the Zambezi wetlands in Baroseland to Luapula Basin and Luapula rivers, Bangweulu, Lake Mweru Antipa, and all the lakes around central provinces. We exploit the fluvial assets. So we've counted that there are 1.1 million fish farmers. We immediately put them on a program. You say, how do you create 1 million jobs? I have just created 1.1 million jobs with these farmers by putting them, the way we have done with FISIP, by putting them on government fishery support. What do they want? Do they want fingerlings? We produce the fingerlings. Do they want mosquito nets and fishing gear? Do they want banana boats? Are they a cooperative? We buy them a professional fish, a fish for a boat for fishing. So immediately the 1.1 million, you've brought them into a formal sector because they've got formal support and the production jumps. You can immediately begin to fulfill the obligations. I had given you the statistics that we are spending $360 million importing fish. That $360 million immediately begin to go to our 1.1 million farmers, because instead of importing fish from China, instead of importing fish from Namibia, we begin to provide the fish immediately. So just a minute as I come to another matter. Yeah, thank you very much. Another matter of interest is what we unpacked. The TVET institutions, we had said we will redirect public resources. You cannot have your limited spare public purse funding everything and everyone. You identify projects. For example, China identified STEM, science, technical, science, mathematics, engineering, and anything technical as what to fund using public resources. So they invested in the STEM program, which everyone is now copying without reference. They are copying it in isolation. Today, China has the biggest number of technicians, craftsmen, engineers, including specialized engineers we call tooling engineers. Those that can assemble like microchips, phones, electronics. It took an investment, a deliberate investment in STEM, science, technical, and everything that was technical. So you encourage subjects like in the STEM program. And we are saying TVET as part of the tertiary education becomes technical, becomes the entity to really fund because it promotes and creates jobs. Dr. Kaunda had a wonderful program. We've never supported it. If you go to Lusaka Trades, you go to Notec, look what they're using in their practicals. You have to buy those people new engines, new whatever they assemble, give them proper equipment. We can even get second-hand ones from polytechnics from Germany and Japan. Give them the tools so that their practice is extremely practical. And that from school, they can go and create employment. They can employ others. So there'll be this huge shift. You just can't fund everything. For us in Project 2026 and beyond is that we've identified TVET institutions as in the short term, those that can create jobs and employ others, and they need to be supported. You need to give them adequate and support budget, and then put everyone who's in these programs. They're the ones you put on bursary. They're the ones you provide loans as a priority. How many lawyers do we have? Now there's a saturation, and sometimes they use, they use a practicing certificate to deny lawyers to come in the industry. So if you have a saturation of lawyers, should they be on public purse? Should you be giving them loans? Should you be giving them bursaries? We had a huge shortage of accountants in our country. To get full SCCA or CIMA, you needed to go to the United Kingdom. You couldn't obtain it anywhere. Government, together with some cooperating partners, undertook a deliberate policy, and we created ZICAS. Within a period of 10 years, Zambia has one of the most educated accountants on the continent of Africa. There is a huge saturation of accountants in our country. And you either facilitate by bilateral agreements, like the way I coordinated the employment of English teachers for Madagascar and Seychelles, because the ambassador was a dear friend of mine, and they those islands are transitioning from French to English, and they've introduced English so that they're bilingual. They are French, they are English, and they are Malays. They speak, those local languages that they speak. And I said, we can give you English teachers. We have an abundance of English teachers. You have seen English teachers in Seychelles, an idea that was born in South Africa. Seychelles, however, was not under me. It was under Kenya. So when the program metasized and was ready, we handed it over to our mission in Kenya, and it ran with that. I'm glad that every 2 years, Zambian teachers find themselves in Seychelles. They might even not know that it was an idea that was formulated over a cup of tea. the accountants that are very qualified in Zambia and are unemployed. Tanzania doesn't have qualified accountants. East Africa doesn't have. North Africa, here. So instead of pushing hard for them to go to Europe to get those SCCA qualifications, first of all, we begin to bring them to ZICAS, and we give them our excess qualified accountants, because now we have an excess. We didn't have any. We created a university, a school for it, and now we have excess. You sign bilateral agreements with places of deficit. You train theirs and you send Zambians. Dr. Kaunda was very good at that. Remember, we ran the civil service, including the judiciary, in Namibia for up to 10 years. These things are feasible. You cannot have an accountant who's not qualified. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you cannot have an accountant who's highly qualified but doesn't have a job. Why? Because your formal sector, which should employ these accountants, is shrunk. It's a very small formal sector. And the informal sector would only need an accountant maybe at the month end to do their taxes. So you have a lot of qualified accountants that can be given jobs by bilateral agreements with other countries. I'm a keen follower that we should train. Where people get the jobs should not be government baby. Like Nigeria, they put up a university in every state. And when they educate you, they tell you, we are not providing employment. Let's be very clear. We'll give you, first we'll create a university of international standard, international accreditation, and accreditation with industries. When we educate you, we are not giving you a job locally here because there are no jobs here, but you'll be able to get a job across the world. Nigeria trains its staff for the world market. That's why if you go to the African Union, up to 70-80% are Nigerian that occupy many positions. And we cry. You go to the UN, go to UN agencies, go to banks, go anywhere, you find that Nigerians and Ghanaians occupy these international jobs. There is simple, it's a mindset. We will train you and give you quality education, and our institutions will be accredited across the world that you'll be able to get a job anywhere in the world. Mbaka university kaba mu one room, paba bako ata computer imo, bako pela degree, nana kakuingisha nchito abroad. They will go to the top 100 universities, and your university will not be one of them. That is why we had said there's something we need to do in our training. A university should be a university. You can't have every street and every corner and they're calling themselves a university. It dilutes the authenticity and standards of genuine universities. I gave examples of South Africa where non-public institutions are not allowed to use the term university. They can call themselves college university, but it can never be said Pretoria University. No. In South Africa, when you hear university at the end, it's publicly owned, publicly supervised. You can have some of the best universities or colleges. The standards are maintained. To call you a university, you have to be a serious institution. We've diluted University of Zambia. How can an institution that was created for 3,000 students have a population of up to 40,000? How? And universities have begun just to offer education for tuition only so that they can run. Why? Because government divested from these institutions. In fact, to date, government owes CBU and University of Zambia billions in retirement benefits, gratuities, settling allowances. They are owed so much. You cannot run a university like that. Our focus will be to pivot, and the universities will be streamlined. We'll create a university town. For example, you have two big universities that we haven't properly actualized. The one in Chinsali. Two big universities. Of course, they've been made as departments under University of Zambia. Those you immediately create towns. You've heard of Oxford Town, Cambridge. You've heard of or Rhodes town. You create and support the university into a town that you can attract international students across the world to come to those institutions. Today is Friday. I'm inviting you to call immediately. We are not going to stay long. We're just talking about how we can resolve the unemployment crisis, and I've just given you some of the keys. 24-hour economy, 1+3 strategy. This gives you 3 jobs currently where there is 1 job. If industry service centers can work 24 hours, what does government need to do? Provide security, upgrade areas, provide street lights. In some cases, you can even say the shift that works 12 hours from 18 hours to 12 hours to 06 the following day will not be taxed. It will not attract taxes. There are incentives you can put for industry to respond. It just can't be a mere rhetoric and announcement at Parliament that we are a 24-hour economy. What have you done to encourage? If someone manufactures something, they don't want to manufacture in excess. You have not protected their industry. They are competing unfavorably with imports from South Africa, from China, whose production cost is totally low. You have not protected them with tariffs. You have not protected them, and you have signed every tariff agreement that you can, and you allow these goods to come literally tax-free, and they collapse your local manufacturing and industrial sectors. Their protection mechanism that you can. For now, we're an ancient economy. You know, when we signed the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, something I was very excited about. It was signed by my previous ambassador. I took it up and we pushed, and we had the Zambian, Albert Muchanga, who was in charge at the African Union, and within 2 years it was law. But there's something the 5 of us protested, that there are certain industries that require protection. For example, the dairy industries. You have Madagascar and Madagascar and Seychelles that import powdered milk from Swaziland. Sorry, not from Swaziland, from New Zealand. Powdered milk. Then they make it into long life. How does that compete with our dairy farmers that are getting straight from cattle, from a cow directly into the market? Powdered milk is produced at mass scale because they get it, preserve it, dry it, and it can last for 3, 4, 5 years. What about you who's feeding your cattle and you want to produce fresh milk? How does it compete with powdered milk? What do we say? Our argument as Zambia, and a few of us, about 5 Ethiopian and others, is that how can, for example, Seychelles and Madagascar import powdered milk from New Zealand? Then they just assemble it, they can it, they just put water to the powdered milk. Then they have free access to our markets in Africa. Is that what you call free trade? You have provided the market for New Zealand in a closed, free trade area. Something that should be free, a free trade area has been invaded by other markets. So we have to be careful even as a country. What do we manufacture as a country? What do we need to protect? What imports are coming that they do not collapse our industry? I don't know how many governments have opened Mulungushi textiles. Nearly every government, from Kaunda to Chiluba to Mwanawasa to Rupia Banda to Michael Sata to Edgar Lungu, now to Hakainde Ichilema. They will keep on opening that Mulungushi textiles. But what you produce here is not competitive. If a T-shirt from China is costing 15 kwacha in Kamwala, you know you can't produce a T-shirt at Mulungushi textile for 15 kwacha. It's not possible. Inevitably, that industry always closes. You either put measures to protect it, the textile industry, and you ensure that it proliferates, that there's no shortage. When you protect it, then you wage against these imports. How do we edge against these imports? Do you use tariffs? What do you use? Join me, call me. Let's participate. We are discussing job security, job creation, and job retention. How can we end the current unemployment crisis under our Project 2026 and beyond? We have brilliant ideas of how to use sectors such as livestock, such as agriculture, such as crops, such as 24-hour economy to resolve the unemployment crisis, and how to go back, you step back to training. Who are you training? Who are these 200,000 graduates that you are training every day? What qualifications do they have? Can they survive in our economy? Do you have a plan for them if they can't have a job in our economy? I gave examples of Ghana and Nigeria that train you and they tell you, Bwana, we are just giving you a good job. We'll ensure that the standards are high for a university. We'll accredit this university to the most visible entities in the world, and your qualification will be recognized. But we are not giving you a job, but we'll train you that you can give a job, you can get a job anywhere else in any bank, whether it's Citibank in New York or in South Africa. You can get, if you're an engineer, you can get a job at Tesla because the qualifications we are giving you are credible, reliable, properly certified of international standards. So we have to go back to the training, to the education, and what is government focusing on to resolve the current crisis. Then there is a diaspora angle that I'll speak to just now. For people in the diaspora, we think that they can contribute immensely. I'll speak to it about now, and we open phone lines. Good day, my dear brother. Please make your contribution. Introduce yourself for sake of the audience and contribute. How can we create jobs?
Yeah, thank you so much, my brother. This is a very, very nice program. And I think as a country, we've got the capacity to produce quality, not just jobs, quality jobs. As one of the viewers kept on saying, leadership, leadership, leadership. We need leadership in our country, Mwamba. Not if you are you know, because the reason why I say we need leadership, all those things, Mwamba, you are talking about laws. We need laws to protect our industries. All countries do it. South Africa do it. Botswana does it. You know, now there is what is known as local content laws. You know, I'm told we've already enacted a local content law, but president after president, they don't sign it. Because if such an act law was enacted, it would have protected local employees. Because, you know, Mwamba, when you look at the mines, they employ artisans from other countries, and yet Zambian engineers don't have jobs.
Yeah.
You know, one time, Mwamba, I was in Kitwe, I was researching over something. So somebody gave me a tip that there's an emerald mine in Rwansharuro, owned by Emmanuel Senegali.
Yeah.
They've employed 1,000 people there. I saw it myself. Out of those 1,000 people, 500 are from Mali or Senegal who cannot even speak English. The question is, who gave them the work permit? Who employed them?
Yeah.
Because those jobs are supposed to be for Zambians. Yeah, but anyway, aside from that, Bamwamba, we can create jobs. Industries that can give us jobs. One, manufacturing. You know, you mentioned Mulungushi textile, but then those industries needs to be protected.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Zambians, Bamwamba. Some of them, my relatives, they were producing quality furniture and they were selling. But you know who killed them? The Chinese.
Yeah.
They went to government and said, protect us, nothing. So manufacturing. And you remember Kaunda created jobs in manufacturing. And Mwamba, we can bring, like pharmaceutical, we can say, guys, we need a lot of medication here. Come and establish companies here. Toyota, come and establish a plant here. You know, Nissan, come and establish a plant here. So that will create, 24-hour, and you said 24-hour industry. But what you said was correct. I live in the UK now. It's like watch a number. People are coming in, other people are going out.
Yeah.
That's how you develop an economy. So mining, Bamwamba, mining, our investors, they don't want to employ because they want to maximize the profits.
Yeah.
But Bamwamba, if we had control over those mines, or even 50-50, we'll make sure that more Zambians are employed and they've got quality jobs and no part-time jobs. And mining, Bamwamba, value adding.
Yeah.
Why are we exporting emeralds, raw emeralds? When we can add value in Zambia, make more money, create more jobs, and then farming, Bamwamba.
Yeah.
Under Kaunda, Bamwamba, you remember, it used to be called Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Rural Development. Because Kaunda's policy was to create jobs in the rural areas through agriculture. And they invested a lot of money through agriculture. And then agriculture, Bamwamba, if you look at China, Bamwamba, a lot of people don't know. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that China developed through agriculture. And then they diverted that money into technology. And but what they did is they used the local people, supported by the government, to add value to those agricultural products. So value adding in agriculture can create millions of jobs if our government is serious, Mwamba. I rest my case.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. That's our dear brother Chilufya from UK. There is, just let me speak briefly about the diaspora. Please call us on the numbers listed. Call us on the number listed. The people in the diaspora are sending about $100 million to our country. This is a formal one. The informal could even be far, far, far higher. $100 million. Ghana is $5 billion, and a similar amount to Nigeria. The remittances can help create jobs. Our people want to build homes. They are defrauded when they buy a plot. Washita plot lelo. Wawelera ku America, wawelera ku UK, ku China. Wasangatiria plot washitire. Atukupari wama problem. At there are 3 owners. Those issues have to come to an end. Regulatory mechanism, Ministry of Lands, flush out the corruption. 2, government should give incentives. In the diaspora, someone has a good job and they want to build a house, they want to build a farm, they want to invest back in our country. What is your support system? I remember Harare excluded an area for whoever was in the diaspora, both their own diplomats or whoever were in the diaspora. And they were given land. This was exclusive to the people that were outside. They were given that plot. Assured, they knew that when you buy this land, you are not being crooked. You don't have to pay expensive lawyers. Government pioneered that. And that part of Harare just became, like a new New York. We can do the same. This is a lot of money that the diaspora sends back home. If they want to build a house, why not ensure that they pay for a house with National Housing Authority and National Housing Authority because they have capacity. Per month they can be sending $5,000 or $2,000 or $6,000. A house can be built for you. The private sector, in the industry sector, have been a bit dishonest. Wamutumine ndalama adi ndalama. Ayashtamuka Corolla. Ayashtamwenshi. The builders are not honest with our cement. They are not honest with their electrical equipment. They are just not honest. You have to clean up all those issues that make us fail. So the diaspora, in our view, can be supported by land. You make Zambia National Building Society and National Housing Authority deployed to their favor, and they can build these and these houses and create jobs for our people. They have a lot of money. What do they do with that money? And Bank of Zambia statistics show that people in the diaspora, Zambians who are living outside our country, are spending up to sorry, I missed a call. Please call again. Up to $100 million a year. So we have an opportunity for people in the diaspora that you can contribute to our economy in this fashion. Please call. Today is Friday. We don't want to stay long. We want to ensure that you participate. Let's hear your views. Today, we are discussing job creation, job retention, and job security under Project 2026. What can be done? Yesterday, I issued out a notice for our workers. They were very excited. They were saying, "Is this feasible?" As commemoration for Labor Day. I'll read it. Mr. Mabo.
Ambassador Mwamba, how are you? I don't know if I should say good evening or...
We'll use evening. Please make your contributions. Mr. Mabo from Italy is a regular contributor. He's president of Zambians in Italy. And Mr. Mabo, under Project 2026, we have a proposal for you. We think that we recognize you that you contribute a lot of money back home. You get defrauded many times when you want to build. Sometimes even your own brothers, sisters, cousins defraud you. We are putting up a mechanism to allow that your investment is safe. We can use institutions like Building Society and National Housing Authority, and you have capacity to pay. In a period of 12 months, you can build a good house. If a house is, land is allocated to you, and you deploy an entity like National Housing Authority to build you a house, we think that your investment will be secure, and you'll have helped create jobs back home. So anyway, make your contributions.
Thank you, Ambassador. Just to reiterate and support what you've said, we have, that's why I always talk about love and patriotism to ourselves. For example, one of the challenges we have here in Italy, because we have these Rome-based UN agencies,
Mm-hmm.
The complaint from the Zambians who work there at the UN is that the topmost jobs or positions are not given to the Zambians.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things issues that they've always wanted to table with the governments whenever we had the Republican presidents visit here, even though sometimes we were not given the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, all these Nigerians, West Africans, some of them who are from these francophonic countries, they don't even speak English, only French or very, very bad English with weird accents. But because they support each other, that's why they have some of those top jobs at these Rome-based UN agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Our people are very educated. Some of the Zambians who work there in Rome, they got their tertiary education from the European Union universities, accredited even, I mean, these universities that are top class, some of them from America, they are very educated, but there's no support. There's a lady who has a company called Diaspora Connect, Madam Natasha Chumia. She tries to support and encourage Zambians in the diaspora to invest in real estate back home. And she tries to do it in a very formal way. She's registered. She's a lawyer. She graduated, I think, from South Africa, and she's a certified real estate agent. But you know, the government, I'm sure, hasn't even recognized her.
Yeah.
We have people qualified and people are trying their best, but they are always like trumped on because there's no patriotism, there's no goodwill, there's no good intention. That's why, for me, my cry is that even as we have the Project 2026, as you are advocating for, which I also believe in, we need people who have good intentions. This will be my contribution, Ambassador, for this evening. So just like we have to be supporting our own people here, these educated Zambians, let's support them and stand on their side when they are applying for these top jobs at the UN. This is what the Nigerians do. You know, the Nigerians are saying, oh, my brother. Our people speak even better English than them, but they don't get the jobs. Why?
Yeah.
Because they don't have the support. So let's support each other. Even with Project 2026, let's support each other. Even with jobs back home, domestic, or these like expats, let's support each other. It will work if we support each other, and I believe in the power of unity. Thank you, Ambassador, for the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mwamba. Once again, thank you very much to Patrick Chilufya from the United Kingdom and Mr. Mwamba from Italy. He's the president of Zambians based in Italy, and he does a wonderful job. These are people that love our country, and they believe we can do things better. They believe the dream of a better Zambia is real. It can be achieved. And that the politicians have soiled the environment so much. And even when we bring credible proposals, people think it's just rhetoric because sometimes people have lied their way into office. This is different. This is a project for Zambia, not for elections, but for generations. So make your call. The diaspora, we have a good opportunity for them. The blue economy is one where we have emphasized. Your government has green economy. I don't know if they even know what green economy is, but we are proposing the blue economy, and it's revolutionary in nature. It can create 1.1 million jobs immediately. I demonstrated that the statistics show that we have 1.1 million small-scale farmers across our water bodies. You bring them on the program like we have done with FISIP. You immediately support them. Then you take infrastructure. You take a good road. You take good infrastructure there, landing facilities. You put cold storage facilities, kilns, those that want to dry, sorting, that want to sort the fish, but you make it fresh and export ready, both for our markets in town and for our borders across Zambia. So make your contributions. We are not staying long. We intend to leave by 21:30. We don't want to stay long. So make your contributions as we hear from you.
Well, first of all, let me just say this to you. I'm 75 now. In September, I'll be 76.
Congratulations. And you look young. You look young.
And I'll tell you this.
You should share the water you drink.
Let me tell you this. This morning, I met a colleague at one of the shopping malls. He was trying to catch up with me. I jumped in the car and drove, and he called me. It was my old number. And he says, you're running away from me. So I said, who is this now? I turned back. He says, come back. And then I turned back. I went back to park. Who comes? Somebody that I know. We have worked together. I started. He says, well, you're still looking strong. You're from the Sheikh and so on. I said, no. It's because a poor man always learns how to survive. Okay. So, to cut a long story short, he says, you couldn't even see when I was trying to stop you. I said, I was reflecting on my grandson, my grandsons, and my grandchildren. What will become of them? Because very soon I must leave. I must go back. What will happen to them? And I want to say this to you, Ambassador Mwamba. I will probably live this life a very sad person. And to some extent, even to myself, maybe I have not spoken as much as I should have done. Maybe I have not raised the flag as much as I should have done to warn us. I've tried to do that. It's very painful when you know. If you don't know, it's different. Probably you don't, it doesn't matter. Okay, because you know otherwise. I am very, very sad that at 60, I can understand President Kaunda, and even partly even his departure, about the amount of money that he had to spend on the wars, schools, hospitals during his time. But now, there are many of us who are educated. There are many of us who have been trained. Many of us can do a lot of other things. The economy has to change. We're a rich country with very poor people because we have not made the right decisions. I'm talking about collectively, including the current government. In fact, they're just deepening the wounds that we already have. We have made mistakes along the way. We have not protected Zambia. We have tended to protect our pockets and individuals. Talking as somebody who chaired the public accounts, most of Chalala is made out of money stolen from government. You know it, I know it. Most of the structures that are owned by our friends that were in PF, they were stolen money. Even some of the MMD, same. The same is happening right now. We are looking at what will I get out of this. I suppose for Bob Singer, because he can only squat in a little insaka and it doesn't matter. I don't have a house. I don't have a big house to talk about. I'm in an insaka. I sleep in an insaka. That's all I could afford. I don't know how they would make that money. And I'm an accountant, by the way. So I don't know how they make that money. I will go away a very, very sad man that a rich country of this kind of magnitude.
Thank you, Uncle Bob. Thank you very much, Uncle Bob. Yesterday was Labor Day, and happy Labor Day to our workers. They are not having the best of their times. The labor movement has been severely weakened. We have a proliferation of a lot of unions. We have to curb that. Under Project 2026, it will be restricted, to at least one union per sector. The issue of, for example, having 20 unions just covering teachers, these are just, membership taking, and we don't know what they're using the money for. They've weakened the unions. So the unions, we want a voice that government can listen to, not a voice that a government can buy. We want a voice from the union that government can listen to. So the proliferation of unions has to come to an end. We have to restore credibility to union representative. We are doing away with casualization. There'll be no employment below 3 years. The employment, especially in strong sectors like mining, you abolish the issue of contractual workers where they hire one contractor to employ thousands of people. No, that is exploitation. The mine has to have liability over its workers, over their safety, over their employment criteria. So the presence of expatriates will be reduced to a tiny, tiny number. unless you cannot get a Zambian here. You cannot have a mine where half the workers at KCM or Grizzly Mining are from foreign countries. Those are transfer pricing. They get up to $5,000-$10,000 that they're paying such a worker. When that worker is only paid $500 or $1,000, the $9,000 goes to the owners of the mines. You cannot allow that fraud. So expatriates across the country, we are 60 years, very educated population, will be highly, highly restricted. Maybe to a CEO and maybe a chief financial officer, but you can't have 1,000 workers coming from India into Chingola. No, Nengama Zambians Valikuisa. You cannot have people coming from Mali up to 500. What can't our people do? Those things will come to an end. So this was our views on Project 2026 and beyond, and the commitment to our workers. All taxes will be reduced to 15% and below. I've been talking about this. Our taxes are extremely high because they're not broad, and only a few shoulder the tax, the burden for our country. Domestic resources is very limited, just to a small number of about 1 million people, protecting and covering over 20 million people, and our development ambition. Companies also pay taxes, but the taxes are very high, 35%, 40%. Some taxes, like sin taxes, go up to 145%. No, the regular taxes will be at 15% and below. If you earn 5,000 kwacha and below, zero tax. No pay as you earn. If you earn 5,100 kwacha to 10,000 kwacha, you pay 5%. We graduated. The highest anyone will pay, the person who earns 20,000 kwacha and above, will only pay 15% tax. A friend of mine, Alexander, not Musoko Twane, but there's Alexander who's on Facebook, who defends the UPND on economic policies, challenged me, says this is an expansionary program. How will you fund it? First of all, we will broaden the taxes that many people are paying. And we gave an example of Tanzania that linked, to TPIN to your mobile number. There are more people without bank accounts but have mobile phones. And you strengthen the back end of that. Everyone can pay their share of taxes. So pay as you earn. No one will pay in our country, in Zambia, above 15%. To our public service workers, because this is under our control, it's not under private sector. All allowances owed to you as a public service worker, whether it's leave benefits, whether it's settling allowance, whether it's housing, whether it's rural hardship, whether it's repatriation allowance, whether it's double class allowance, whether it will be responsibility allowance, whatever allowance government owes you, you cannot have a government owing its people these gratuities, these long service bonus for 5 years, 10 years. These will be cleared immediately. This will be a windfall tax contribution to you. You'll be paid this outstanding money. Microfinance loans, it has now been established. The founder of microfinance institution that was adopted by the UN and then spread across the world, had a vision to empower poor people, because poor people and low income workers have no access to banks, to loans, to security, to access to finance and to short and long-term finance. The guy wrote a book using financial tools on how to end poverty and proposed microfinance institutions. They pounced on an award-winning idea. And now microfinance institution, which was designed to be a tool to help the worker, to help a poor trader, to help that marketeer, has become a tool of slavery. Our people are yoked to these loans and can't survive. They are drowning under these loans. They can't come out of. They're exploitative. The interest rate is high. The repayment period is very short. The income from our workers, is not adequate. It has become a nightmare. Suicides, loss of jobs, trauma, mental health are now being associated with these loans from microfinance institutions. Something like I'm saying, an award-winning project has been turned to a nightmare for our people. That will not be allowed. We are reforming it as it was intended for a microfinance to be. It will not be exploitative. And in the short term, we transfer all your loans immediately to the public service microfinance company, which is owned by government, which is owned by public service pension fund. We take all your loans there as we are restructuring this sector. And the debt swap can happen there, the loan forgiveness can happen there. Everything can happen from an area where you have grouped it away from the private sector who are exploiting. Then you reform the sector itself. It has become an exploitative sector that is killing our people. We clear your pensions and benefits immediately and give you repatriation allowances. There are a lot of government houses that are occupied by pensioners who have not been given repatriation allowance 5-6 years. Bambi bali fola nendalama bale chana business bale panga nendalama bala na South Africa na China, but bale kala government house. Why? Because you have not paid repatriation allowance. We are clearing all backlogs of repatriation allowances for our pensioners and retirees so that they vacate from those houses. We told you that there will be an aggressive revival to National Building Society and National Housing Authority, and that will halt proliferation of casualization. We've talked about it. The presence of expatriates in our local economy will be reduced to a bare minimum, and will strengthen the voice of the workers. The proliferation of many unions will come to an end. You can't have 20 unions representing a teacher. You are exploiting that teacher. Then remember, it's about the family here. We have a special issues with the family. The family will be supported. We want the head of the house not to run away from the house. We don't want them to be taking away their lives. We will support you and we encourage you to be the head of that house. Pray with your family. Fast with your family. Keep that family together. As the Lord is head over your house, you are head over your household. Protect, give, support, ensure that that family is together. And under that, you need to remember what we are doing. We are fighting the drug and alcohol scourge that has engulfed households and is destroying millions of young people. That we are attending to as an aggressive program together with the church and civil society groupings. And all families that are working together. Vanesi bakuchila bombwe, abalume babomba kuchoma. Babomba bena kumpulungu, abakashibaba ku Livingstone. No, you are destroying families. You'll be reunited if the employer is the same. If the employer is the same, you'll be in one town so that you can live together and raise that family together. We are revamping National Housing Authority to provide for decent housing. We are upgrading the entire Lusaka, these townships. There's an aggressive program to rehabilitate Lusaka. You can't have a shanty for a township, for a city. The Cairo Road, Freedom Way, and Chachacha Road will be the icon of our country. They represent our countries. Lights will work, elevators will work. Those buildings will not be buildings that have been infested as public toilets and homes for the street kids. They'll be revived. Pension capital will be used properly. So if National Housing Authority or NAPSA or whoever owns those buildings, ZIMCO, FINDECO, Building Society, Anchor House, all those houses, all those buildings will be rehabilitated to modern. There will be a deliberate critical investment to bring back life to our city. London is 500 years old. Italy, Venice, they are 700-800 years old. They have not decayed. Why have we allowed Lusaka to decay? Why are we allowing Ndola to decay? Why are we allowing Livingstone to decay? Look at Kitwe. So there has to be a deliberate program to do that. Sorry, I thought I could summarize my thoughts and I missed some calls again. I'm so sorry. You can call. Oh, it's 21:30. We had said we would close. Let's close with my dear brother, Bob Schinga, who's co-anchoring the program through the program at Elia hosted called The Conversation Podcast. He gave some poignant views, and I want to end the program with these views. Listen to them. God bless you. God bless our country. And God save whoever is messing with our country. Our country can succeed. Our country will prosper. It will be one of the top 5 economies in the next 5 years. It's not a dream. It's a vision for the next generation. Project 2026 was our presentation today. God bless you and good night.
What do you have? One of the biggest reserves why this Lobito route is being done is because the West wants the copper between Congo and Zambia. We have got the biggest deposit in Konkola Deep. The major challenge there is water. You have to dewater it constantly. So that's what they want. You think they're here to develop Zambia? No. They're here to get what they can get their hands on. My argument is that I want the same things they want for their children. I want it for my grandchildren too. Who is going to help me to do that? And that's why I even went into government, thinking that maybe we can correct some of these mistakes. We can be able to do something. I tried my best as Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry and also as Agriculture. I was only with the President less than 5 years. I wish I had a bit more time to do that, to try and implement some of the programs. So that's one. Number two, what don't you have? You have copper in abundance. We are a poor second to Congo on cobalt. One of the first jobs I did when I joined RCM was a cobalt plant at Chambeshi. That was my job. I did that job. It was a plant that was to produce initially 1,200 metric tons of cobalt and then 2,400 metric tons of cobalt. That was my first job. We spent $6 million on it. It paid back in 3 months.
Wow.
Okay? Before I went to Mufulira Mine.
And at the time, cobalt was far less. It was selling poorly, yeah.
Now
it's
not
not like
such a price. Okay? I know each one of those mines. I can tell you stories about each one of them. We established big farms in Mukumpu, in Mpongwe. Those were done by Nchanga farms. Why are we starving now? And yet there was enough rain in Mpongwe. Why? Wrong decisions. We've got manganese. You remember Mansa batteries. You remember Yucca batteries. In Mansa. How about Sajolite? How about the copper in Mukushi? How about nickel? How about lithium?
And the gold that's just
How about
breaking
the gold
out
that we
everywhere.
talked about in Northwestern? But what is remaining for the people there? How are we using that resource? We're giving it away to our friends because maybe we benefit from it in one form or the other, which is a conversation for another day. But how about our own people? How about our people in Western Province, in Northwestern Province where the gold is being dug and all the other products are being taken? How about the people in Wapula? How about the manganese and Sajolite? How about the other semi-precious stones in Lundazi? How about in Mapatizia, in Southern Province? What about them? Don't they matter? How are you going to supply the hospitals with medicines? How are you going to train the next set of doctors, neurosurgeons, and so on and so forth? How are we going to do that? How are we going to make sure that the mega project that I wanted to do for the water to Southern Province is done without money? Because we can't remain beggars. I went with President Sata to South Korea. South Korea. You know how much money Samsung brings into Korea. In 2014 when we went, 2013 when we went, they were bringing in more than $3 trillion in South Korea. Wow. 3 trillion, Samsung only. And you talk about Japan. I've been in Japan. You can see how they make nothing from, they have no resource to talk about. But look at Sony. Look at their companies, Tashi, and so on and so forth. Look at them. How about us? We go begging with cup in hand. This is so sad. It's extremely sad. I mean, it saddened me very, very much. And I'm saying, what is my education worth? How about my experience on the mines? Why did I break 10 years of I was 36 when I was 28 when I went to Mufulira mine. 28. I've done the best of the years in there. And here is a rich country. Japan doesn't even have a percentage of what we have here. Same with South Korea. South Korea was offering us 57 locomotives. They say, we'll rehabilitate them for you, we'll change the gauge for you so that you can take them. Just pay for the transportation. And I have not seen them here. Yes, you talked about other countries. You go now and look at the other countries, like Southeast Asia. All right? How much have they progressed? They have diversified. They are now producing things on their own. They've gone exactly what we've said, value addition. What about us? Now we've got more people educated. Why is it that it's going to be more difficult now than it was in 1986 when I was in ZCCM? Tell me that. How is it possible that Norman Bazima can be Anglo-American chairman, but not here? Tell me. You just tell me. And Norman Bazima was my junior in ZCCM. How about Chileshe Kapwepwe? How about Mwilarumbwe? Even Dan Pule? How is it not possible? Tell me. There must be something wrong with our minds. Because God has given us, that is the gift to us and our children, and we're giving it away to other people. It's very, very sad. So, you asked me the question? Well, I think each one of us takes some blame. Our leaders, our members of parliament, we need to transform our country into a different situation. I wish that God would give me a few more years. Maybe I could still contribute something. But now I have to think in terms of where do I go from here? Okay? One hopes that the new leadership that will come into our country from next 60 years, which talked about 60 years, I don't know about the 60 years, but let's assume that they are here, that we will have another 60 years here. I am looking forward to a time when we can have selfless individuals. Countries are not built by others. Nobody is going to come from Australia to come and build Zambia for us. No. Not
people
from
bidding foreign investment to build this country.
It will not do that. China has proven to us there's alternatives. China has proven beyond any shadow of doubt. I can tell you this. No businessman coming here is doing it for Zambia's development. They are doing it for their own profitability. It is us, the citizens of this country, black, brown, whatever, it is us to make sure that we secure the future of our children. And what God has given to us is already here in our hands. It is for us to use it wisely and sensibly. Use the best methods we have. Use the best people that you have, not based on tribe. No, that we have to kill. And now, we're fortunate as a country, we've intermarried so much, it would be very difficult for somebody to say, we'll secede. Western province will secede. It won't secede, that I can tell you. Why? Because you have intermarried so much. How about the children? What do you do with them? And you members have also gone Southern Province. You love the beautiful girls of Southern Province. All right? So sometimes you've gone to Eastern Province and done whatever, married them from there. So what happens to the country? We are one unitary country. We need to develop what we have here. Right here, it is our duty, Mwamba. You're still young, so you have no gray hair.